Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
The remains of something that has been destroyed or broken up. Distribute loosely. Cover with a light dusting of a substance. Dust the bread with flour. Fine powdery material such as dry earth or pollen that can be blown about in the air. The furniture was covered with dust. Free microscopic particles of solid material. Astronomers say that the empty space between planets actually contains measurable amounts of dust. Remove the dust from. Dust the cabinets. Rub the dust over a surface so as to blur the outlines of a shape. The artist dusted the charcoal drawing down to a faint image. The remains of something that has been destroyed or broken up. The remains of something that has been destroyed or broken up. Loose material, stone fragments and silt etc., that is worn away from rocks. The remains of something that has been destroyed or broken up. Dispose of, something useless or old. Junk an old car. Any of various Chinese boats with a high poop and luxels. The remains of something that has been destroyed or broken up. Move away from each other. The crowds dispersed. To cause to separate and go in different directions. Cause to become widely known. Cause to separate. Disperse particles. Distribute loosely. Separate, light, into spectral rays. The prism disperses light. Scatter or intersperse like dots or studs. Street name for lysergic acid diethylamide. The shorter of the two telegraphic signals used in Morse code. A very small circular shape. Draw lines between the dots. The United States federal department that institutes and coordinates national transportation programs, created in 1966. Distribute loosely. Make a dot or dots. Mark with a dot. Dot your I's. Strew or distribute over an area. Scatter cards across the table. The act of scattering. Move away from each other. The children scattered in all directions when the teacher approached. To cause to separate and go in different directions. She waved her hand and scattered the crowds. A haphazard distribution in all directions. Cause to separate. Distribute loosely. He scattered gunpowder under the wagon. Sow by scattering. Scatter seeds. A light shower that falls in some locations and not others nearby. Rain gently. It has only sprinkled, but the roads are slick. Cause, a liquid, to spatter about, especially with force. The act of sprinkling or splashing water. Scatter with liquid, wet lightly. Distribute loosely. Worthless material that is to be disposed of. Dispose of, something useless or old. Scrap your old computer. A small fragment of something broken off from the whole. The act of fighting, any contest or struggle. The unhappy couple got into a terrible scrap. have a disagreement over something. These two fellows are always scrapping over something. A small piece of something that is left over after the rest has been used. She jotted it on a scrap of paper. Make into scrap or refuse. Scrap the old airplane and sell the parts. Worthless material that is to be disposed of. Nonsensical talk or writing. Attack strongly. Worthless material that is to be disposed of. Nonsensical talk or writing. An amphetamine derivative, trade name mephedrine, used in the form of a crystalline hydrochloride, used as a stimulant to the nervous system and as an appetite suppressant. Worthless people. Dispose of something useless or old. Trash these old chairs. Express a totally negative opinion of. Remove, cargo, people, etc., from and leave. Electrical conduction through a gas in an applied electric field. Free from obligations or duties. Go off or discharge. Eliminate a substance. The termination of someone's employment, leaving them free to depart. Pronounce not guilty of criminal charges. Cause to go off. Release from military service. A substance that is emitted or released. Any of several bodily processes by which substances go out of the body. The discharge of pus. The act of discharging a gun. The act of venting. The pouring forth of a fluid. Become empty or void of its content. A formal written statement of relinquishment. Complete or carry out. Discharge one's duties. Pour forth or release. Discharge liquids. Remove the charge from. The sudden giving off of energy. A recording of a song that was first recorded or made popular by somebody else. They made a cover of a Beatles song. Form a cover over. The grass covered the grave. Clothe, as if for protection from the elements. Cover your head. A fixed charge by a restaurant or nightclub over and above the charge for food and drink. The act of concealing the existence of something by obstructing the view of it. The cover concealed their guns from enemy aircraft. Travel across or pass over. The caravan covered almost 100 miles each day. Span an interval of distance, space or time. The period covered the turn of the century. A covering that serves to conceal or shelter something. Under cover of darkness. Include in scope. Include as part of something broader. Have as one sphere or territory. This should cover everyone in the group. Fire that makes it difficult for the enemy to fire on your own individuals or formations. Artillery provided covering fire for the withdrawal. Put something on top of something else. Cover the meat with a lot of gravy. A natural object that covers or envelops. Under a covering of dust. The protective covering on the front, back, and spine of a book. Make up for shortcomings or a feeling of inferiority by exaggerating good qualities. Bedding that keeps a person warm in bed. He pulled the covers over his head and went to sleep. Hide from view or knowledge. The president covered the fact that he bugged the offices in the White House. Be responsible for reporting the details of, as in journalism. The cub reporter covered New York City. Covering for a hole, especially a hole in the top of a container. Put the cover back on the kettle. Act on verbally or in some form of artistic expression. The course covered all of Western civilization. Sit on, eggs. The female covers the eggs. Protect by insurance. The insurance won't cover this. Cover as if with a shroud. Copulate with a female, used especially of horses. The horse covers the mare. A false identity and background, especially one created for an undercover agent. Her new name and passport or cover for her next assignment. Be responsible for guarding an opponent in a game. Be sufficient to meet, defray, or offset the charge or cost of. Is this enough to cover the check? Help out by taking someone's place and temporarily assuming his responsibilities. She is covering for our secretary who is ill this week. Hold within range of an aimed firearm. Invest with a large or excessive amount of something. She covered herself with glory. Maintain a check on, especially by patrolling. The second officer covered the top floor. Play a higher card than the one previously played. Smith covered again. Protect or defend, a position in a game. He covered left field. Provide for. The grant doesn't cover my salary. Provide with a covering or cause to be covered. Cover her face with a handkerchief. Spread over a surface to conceal or protect. This paint covers well. To take an action to protect against future problems. Count the cash in the drawer twice just to cover yourself. A small discrete mass of solid or liquid matter that remains individually dispersed in gas or liquid emissions, usually considered to be an atmospheric pollutant. A small discrete mass of solid or liquid matter that remains individually dispersed in gas or liquid emissions, usually considered to be an atmospheric pollutant. Composed of distinct particles. Artifact made by weaving or felting or knitting or crocheting natural or synthetic fibers. She measured off enough material for a dress. Having substance or capable of being treated as fact, not imaginary. Having material or physical form or substance. The tangible substance that goes into the makeup of a physical object. Coal is a hard black material. A person judged suitable for admission or employment. He was university material. Concerned with or affecting physical as distinct from intellectual or psychological well-being. Material needs. Concerned with worldly rather than spiritual interests. Material possessions. Derived from or composed of matter. The material universe. Directly relevant to a matter, especially a law case. His support made a material difference. Information, data or ideas or observations, that can be used or reworked into a finished form. The archives provided rich material for a definitive biography. Things needed for doing or making something. Writing materials. Informal terms for personal possessions. Overeat or eat immodestly, make a pig of oneself. She stuffed herself at the dinner. Fill with a stuffing while cooking. Have you stuffed the turkey yet? Senseless talk. Don't give me that stuff. Obstruct. My nose is all stuffed. The tangible substance that goes into the makeup of a physical object. Wheat is the stuff they use to make bread. Press or force. A critically important or characteristic component. Suspense is the very stuff of narrative. Cram into a cavity. The child stuffed candy into his pockets. Fill tightly with a material. Stuff a pillow with feathers. Information in some unspecified form. It was stuff I had heard before. Miscellaneous unspecified objects. The trunk was full of stuff. Treat with grease, fill, and prepare for mounting. Stuff a bearskin. Unspecified qualities required to do or be something. The stuff of heroes. Make clean by removing dirt, filth, or unwanted substances from. The dentist cleaned my teeth. Free of restrictions or qualifications. A clean bill of health. Free from clumsiness, precisely or deftly executed. He landed a clean left on his opponent's cheek. Of a manuscript, having few alterations or corrections. A clean manuscript. Clean one's body or parts thereof, as by washing. Clean up before you see your grandparents. Not spreading pollution or contamination, especially radioactive contamination. A clean fuel. Completely, used as intensifiers. Clean forgot the appointment. Exhibiting or calling for sportsmanship or fair play. A clean fight. Remove unwanted substances from, such as feathers or pits. A weight lift in which the barbell is lifted to shoulder height and then jerked overhead. Of behavior or especially language, free from objectionable elements, fit for all observers. Good clean fun. Of a surface, not written or printed on. A clean page. Morally pure. Led a clean life. Free from impurities. Clean water. Of sound or color, free from anything that dulls or dims. Efforts to obtain a clean bass in orchestral recordings. Remove unwanted substances from. Clean and tidy up the house. She house cleans every week. Free from sepsis or infection. A clean, or uninfected, wound. Remove all contents or possession from, or empty completely. The boys cleaned the sandwich platters. In conformity with the rules or laws and without fraud or cheating. Be cleanable. This stove cleans easily. Deprive wholly of money in a gambling game, robbery, etc. The other players cleaned him completely. Free from dirt or impurities, or having clean habits. Children with clean shining faces. Free of drugs. After a long dependency on heroin, she has been clean for 4 years. Not carrying concealed weapons. of a record, having no marks of discredit or offense. A clean voting record. Remove shells or husks from. Clean grain before milling it. Remove while making clean. Ritually clean or pure. Thorough and without qualification. A clean getaway. Without difficulties or problems. A clean test flight. Make clean by removing dirt, filth, or unwanted substances from. An act that brings discredit to the person who does it. Charge falsely or with malicious intent. Attack the good name and reputation of someone. Make a smudge on. Soil by smudging. A thin tissue or blood sample spread on a glass slide and stained for cytologic examination and diagnosis under a microscope. A blemish made by dirt. Slanderous defamation. Cover. A surface, by smearing, a substance, over it. Smear the wall with paint. Stain by smearing or daubing with a dirty substance. Make a smudge on. Soil by smudging. Make dim or indistinct. The fog blurs my vision. Become glassy. Lose clear vision. Make unclear, indistinct, or blurred. A hazy or indistinct representation. It happened so fast it was just a blur. Become vague or indistinct. The distinction between the two theories blurred. To make less distinct or clear. The haze blurs the hills. Make a smudge on. Soil by smudging. Make a smudge on. Soil by smudging. A blemish made by dirt. He had a smudge on his cheek. A smoky fire to drive away insects. A soft wet area of low-lying land that sinks underfoot. A stretch of water without current or movement. Suddenly they were in a slack and the water was motionless. The quality of being loose, not taut. He hadn't counted on the slackness of the rope. A noticeable deterioration in performance or quality. A gradual slack in output. Make less active or fast. He slackened his pace as he got tired. Cause to heat and crumble by treatment with water. Slack lime. Become slow or slower. Become less in amount or intensity. Not tense or taut. Slack and wrinkled skin. Make less active or intense. Lacking in rigor or strictness. Slack in maintaining discipline. A cord or rope or cable that is hanging loosely. He took up the slack. Avoid responsibilities in work, be idle. Be inattentive to, or neglect. He slacks his attention. Dust consisting of a mixture of small coal fragments and coal dust and dirt that sifts out when coal is passed over a sieve. Flowing with little speed as e.g. at the turning of the tide. Slack water. Release tension on. Slack the rope. The act of scattering water about haphazardly. Walk through mud or mire. The sound like water splashing. Make a splashing sound. Water was splashing on the floor. 'Cause, a liquid, to spatter about, especially with force. She splashed the water around her. The act of splashing a liquid substance on a surface. A small quantity of something moist or liquid. Just a splash of whiskey. Dash a liquid upon or against. The mother splashed the baby's face with water. A prominent or sensational but short-lived news event. He made a great splash and then disappeared. A patch of bright color. Her red hat gave her outfit a splash of color. Mark or overlay with patches of contrasting color or texture, caused to appear splashed or spattered. The mountain was splashed with snow. Soil or stain with a splashed liquid. Strike and dash about in a liquid. The boy splashed around in the pool. Rain gently. The noise of something spattering or sputtering explosively. He heard a spatter of gunfire. Spot, splash, or soil. The baby spattered the bib with food. The act of splashing a liquid substance on a surface. Dash a liquid upon or against. Disperse as an aerosol. The bacteria suspension was aerosolized. Become dispersed as an aerosol. Decorate with spangles. Dot or sprinkle with sparkling or glittering objects. A dispenser that turns a liquid, such as perfume, into a fine mist. A quantity of small objects flying through the air. A spray of bullets. A jet of vapor. A pesticide in suspension or solution, intended for spraying. Be discharged in sprays of liquid. Water sprayed all over the floor. Cover by spraying with a liquid. Spray the wall with paint. Flower arrangement consisting of a single branch or shoot bearing flowers and foliage. Scatter in a mass or jet of droplets. Spray water on someone. Water in small drops in the atmosphere, blown from waves or thrown up by a waterfall. Walk through mud or mire. We had to splosh across the wet meadow. Make a splashing sound. 'Cause, a liquid, to spatter about, especially with force. Dash a liquid upon or against.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.